This is Viewpoint with Chris Pierce. Today's program has been underwritten by Body Auto Real Estate, providing personal and professional real estate service since 1987. For all your real estate needs, call Diane Body Auto at 402-690-4769. Linda McDermott with Fricke & Associates is an independent insurance representative helping you with personal and business insurance as well as your long-term care, life, health, and retirement needs. Come join the conversation at PoliticalInsidersReport.com, Nebraska's source for local politics.
Welcome to Viewpoint with Chris Pierce. I'm Michael Severe. I'll be your guest host for the next 4 weeks as we present discussions and debates with the candidates for Omaha City Council and Omaha Mayor. All general election candidates were invited to participate in the Viewpoint debate series. Our questions for the candidates were generated from citizens across Omaha and then were compiled by a committee consisting of Democrats, Republicans, and Independents. The candidates have not seen the questions and have no input in their content. We'll start this morning with Omaha City Council District 3. The candidates are incumbent Chris Jerem, who was elected to his seat in 2009, and JR Jasso. Mr. Jerem declined our invitation, so we're joined by JR Jasso this morning. JR, we appreciate it. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come here.
Let's talk about one of the big issues that are going on now is the Omaha firefighters contract. It was ratified, and now it's going to be up again in 2 years. What are some of the big challenges facing, you think, the City Council for this next contract, and when should they start working on it?
Well, I understand that that is one of the major issues, because if you look at the city budget, and I went through that one day, and it's several hundred pages long. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to see what everybody else was looking at when it came to the numbers that we're faced with every day. And it's really strange that up to 60% of the money that the city brings in is being paid to city and fire contracts. And as I've been knocking on doors, one of the major issues that I'm getting from my constituents is that's just too much. We have to have more of a level playing field. And I understand that, because what they're saying to me is, why should I be funding so much of their pension and their health insurance? All I'm asking for as a constituent is to have some sort of a level playing field. And it's one of those things where we need to look at it now, because every day we're just continuing to lose money, and we have to get a handle on this right away. We just can't continue to lose all this money, and we can't put that burden back on the hardworking taxpayers of Omaha.
The mayor's negotiated these contracts in the past. This year, the city council took it over because 5 members wanted to. Do you think the mayor should negotiate the contract with the firefighters or the city council?
Well, I think there's actually two schools of thought to that. Is the way I think about it is, as the mayor, you're the chief executive of the city, and the way it would work is that they would be the one that would probably be most responsible for whatever goes on in the city. But if we believe that if things are getting done the way they need to be, and hopefully it's not one of those things where the mayor would have to maybe hedge on a certain the way they're going to approach it, because they may have taken funds from the unions, and then I think that might be a difficult thing for people to understand. That now, how am I going to have you negotiate on my behalf when you're taking money from these people? So in that case, I think it should probably go back to the city council, and we should work on it as a group like that. But at the end of the day, what I would stress most of all, and this is coming from my constituents, we simply want a level playing field. We want to give them what they deserve, and we would want the same benefit that we would have on the outside.
Metro runs TD Ameritrade and Century Lane. They built TD Ameritrade $128 million facility, only 2 permanent tenants right now. CWS, and of course Creighton Baseball, it's a large tax liability on the city, struggling to get other tenants in there. What do you think the city council should do specifically to bring in more events, more long-term tenants to TD Ameritrade and City Link, Century Link, or should they even have a part of it?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that I'm really happy that the Blue Jays play down there, because I'm going to love them, Creighton. So that's really a great venue to go to.
Yes.
As far as the College World Series, it's one of those things where I feel such pride when the series comes in. I haven't missed a College World Series in over 40 years, and I've actually established a tradition with my grandson. He's 4 years old, and this will be his 5th College World Series. And I think that is an absolutely fantastic thing. It really shows the city off to the people who come in from out of town, and where we're showing on ESPN. It just shows what a great place this is. As far as other tenants, I think, when you have something like that, that you should be able to bring some other parties in, be it, I don't know, other big name teams or whatever. Do I think we need to bring like another Omaha Royals or anything like that in? Or, I'm sorry, the Storm Chasers now.
Yeah.
I don't think we need something like that, but as far as the Central League Center, I think what we need to do is we need to work on bringing some bigger name acts in. And what I mean by that is we have such a great young population here. We need to find out from those kids what are the big names that we should bring in, because there's a lot of great acts out there.
Yeah.
And I would like to see, myself, I'd like to see some of the older bands come in, because although, they may be bands from the 70s or whatever, there are those folks of us who still we would fill the Century League Center with 18,000 people to see somebody like Fleetwood Mac or Paul McCartney and the Wings, just acts like that. But yeah, I think we really need to work on bringing a lot more acts in, and I know we could really fill that place.
One of the big issues with folks living in North Omaha, they're worried about being able to get the kind of transportation to take them out to the jobs that are in West Omaha or outside the Beltway. What can we do about the transportation system? What can the city council do about that in Omaha?
Well, that would be one of those things where I think to some degree it might be up to the employer who would want to have those workers out there, because I don't really see that we would need to fund something, again, put something back on the city taxpayers to get other people out to a job site. That would be kind of like you going to work and say, well, okay, I'm going to have to get you to work. But if we can really get a good number of people working at some of these places that are out west, then it would probably make good fiscal sense for us to do that, because what we're going to do then is we're going to have a lot more people working, and we're going to make this or whatever company out there, we're going to help them to grow. And if they continue to grow, they're going to add more people, and that's certainly going to bring more money into the city. And if we can do that, then we're going to take, we may have to, lessen some of the taxes that we have, and that will, in the end, help the city to grow.
Well, we got public transportation out there, and you see buses driving by with nobody on them the majority of the time. That's something the city council needs to look at, and maybe adjusting routes or doing something so you can get actual people on these buses.
Well, I think if we did have a company out there, and there were a lot of people that were going out there, I think it would make perfect business sense to do something like that. Because if we had a bus that maybe went out once a day and there were only 2 people on it, then it really wouldn't make fiscal sense to do that. But if those buses were always full and people were on them every day going out there and working and making a decent wage, then it would be a really good idea for the city to do something about that. But again, and this is coming from my constituents, they don't want to have to add another tax to pay for something like that.
What do you think the role of the city council is in helping people start their own businesses, start small businesses, develop the economy within those areas?
Well, I think small businesses, to some extent, are really what drives the city. I mean, you can bring a couple of Fortune 500 companies, and we're lucky to have those.
Yeah.
But I think if there's some way that the city could do what they can to help a small business to get started, that's a great thing. Because what that's going to do is it's going to show somebody else, an entrepreneur, that, this idea that I've been working on for a while, I know I can get this to work, and all I need is a little help from somebody. And if the city can do that, we're gonna have a new company come in. We're gonna have employees there, and hopefully that will continue to generate more income for the city and not put a burden on the taxpayer.
At the same time, when you start a new business, it's a large tax burden on the person starting a new business. You think the city council should maybe give certain exemptions so people can help start businesses that only start for the beginning of the business?
Well, I think that would be a good idea, but it depends on what we would offer them. We really can't give them a whole lot of things, because again, if you give too much away, how long is it going to be until that pays off?
Right.
That you would recoup your money. But I think if we work with small business owners and we came up with some sort of plan, that it would be a good idea to help them out.
TD Ameritrade did a large office building out there, 108th and Dodge. There was a great amount of controversy over those neighborhoods being considered blighted. People were upset about the use of TIF, or tax incremental financing. Some state legislators felt the city council misused TIF in that situation for that land around the building. Do you feel the city of Omaha is carelessly using TIF for its not intended purposes?
Well, I understand what the purpose of it is to grow a business or whatever in a certain part of the district, but I think what we have to do too is we have to think about those homeowners that are in that area, that when they become blighted, while we may be spurring some income, it may not be a good thing for those homeowners. So it has to be something that's going to be used sparingly, and it has to be used correctly.
And it's the city council's, I guess, job to determine those areas, or should it be city planning? Who should determine if that area is actually blighted?
Well, I think it would be something that where we would talk to each other, that we have a good dialogue between those entities to say, okay, here's where we're going to do it, and we have to also let the people that live in that neighborhood, here's what we're thinking about, so that they have their opportunity to voice their opinion. We can't just go in and say, okay, we're going to consider this a blighted area so that we can get TIF funds so we can build a new business in there. I think that we have to have the citizens' input, and we need to let them know what's going to be happening and give them their opportunity to speak as well.
There are a large number of people who don't live in Omaha. They live out in Sarpy County, they live in La Vista, whatever, but they work in Omaha. City council passed the $50 wheel tax for those people, but then the state said, no, you can't do that. You can't have that tax. Do you believe first the state overstepped their bounds, and you believe the city should try again to have a tax for that purpose?
That's one of those taxes that it's really difficult to understand. You know, just the fact that, you know, you live somewhere else, that's where you choose to live because you feel comfortable there, and you work somewhere else. I don't think that's something that we should really implement, because what it's going to do is going to drive good people away. It's going to say, well, there's this opening at this company, but I don't want to take that job because then I would have to pay this $50 tax or whatever it would be. So I really don't think that's a really good idea to do that, because what we'll end up doing in the end is we'll probably start driving people away.
But then on the other hand, people say, well, if they're driving in, they're using those roads, we're paying taxes as Omahans on those roads, they're using them, but they're avoiding the tax.
Well, that's one of those things where it's kind of like the chicken and the egg, which one came first. And that would be one of those things that I want to take a look into a lot more and see, you know, which would actually be the best way to go with it. And in looking at something like that, I would like to have as much information on it that I can, so that I can make a good decision to say, okay, yeah, we need to implement that tax because those people are coming in and they're using our roads. And to, you know, what degree are they actually using them as opposed to any other motorists that might be using that road anyway.
Anyone who was around the area when the city annexed Elkhorn, they remember how much of a controversy it was. Folks in Elkhorn upset about it. Do you believe the city council should look at annexing other communities like Ralston, Bennington, or Valley? How far down the road should Omaha City Council look at those? How far should they try to have Omaha grow to extend the tax base and the size of the city?
Well, if we can, of course, get a greater tax base, what that's going to do, it's going to allow less taxes that most citizens are going to have to pay. And again, everything I've ever heard of all the citizens that I've been talking to, we want to pay less taxes. And does it always come down to annexing something else? I don't really know that that's always going to be the answer. Is there the possibility that somewhere down the road, 5 years, 10 years, you know, that's something that we certainly have to take a look at. But again, the thing that I'm focusing on most of all is that the people that I've talked to, they want to pay less taxes, and they don't want to be intrusive on anybody else. For example, when I was saying that all they want to do is they want to give the contracts that we're playing, they want a level playing field. That's what they want. If we would have to annex somebody, that we would want to give those people the right to say, we don't want to come in. And on the other hand, the citizens of Omaha would say, well, here's why we want you to come in, so that we can work together and we can make things better for each citizen in Omaha. And that's something that's going to have to take a lot of consideration before you just say, we're going to annex you.
And part of the concern, I'm guessing, would be to be able to provide services to those places. Some places as far as Bennington, police, making sure their roads are plowed, and that's something you got to take into consideration.
Well, that would be a given, whether, you know, if it's the citizens of Omaha or somebody that you do annex. Those are just some of the basic services that any city should provide. You know, it's snow removal, it's police, it's libraries, parks. All of those things should all be just some of the fundamental things that if you were to annex somebody, or even the citizens of Omaha, those are some of the basic things that we should have.
Let's talk occupational taxes, restaurant tax, tobacco tax. A lot of people upset about them. If you were elected to the city council, first of all, would you maintain those taxes, or would you look to try to repeal them?
Again, and I'm going back to, these are the numerous conversations that I've had with people. And what they're telling me, the vast majority is saying we need to repeal those taxes. And the reason they want to do that is because they just don't want to have to continue to pay tax after tax. They're just, at the end of the day, there's just not enough money left. And what their belief is, if the city needs to live within a budget just like you and I have to.
Sure.
And if we're not able to do that, then we shouldn't be spending money. And if we want to do something and we don't have money, let's just not do it. Let's just not go out and say, well, we need to get this done. Let's go ahead and raise the tax for it. That's not what the people that I'm talking to want. They want me to work to get rid of those.
On the other hand, before the mayor and the city council put those taxes in, they were going to close down golf courses, close down some parks. Those people, I'm guessing, as much as they want the tax burden reduced, they want to have those services that are out there. So how do you balance that?
Well, when I talk to people, when they say, well, I'd like to have lower taxes, but I still like to have all of these things, they're starting to understand that, okay, I know what you mean. For example, if I want to purchase a new car or whatever, and I don't have the funds, we're just not going to do it. We're going to put it off, or we're going to get a lesser model, or we're just not going to get the car at all. So I think that the people are really starting to understand that, we're going to have to do with the money that we have, and the money that we do have, we're going to have to stretch those dollars a lot further and make them be more efficient than they probably are now.
One of the things that have been a huge debate around the city over the last couple of weeks was that police video that was out there on the internet about an officer perhaps with misconduct. They're investigating that now. But when you look down the road, if you were elected to the city council, would you want a police auditor? What kind of oversight would you like to see? What would you like to see done to be able to investigate those sort of things?
Well,
outside of the police department.
Well, I believe, I went on a ride-along with a police officer in West Omaha just a few weeks back, and I know it was only a few short hours in one day, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to see what this police officer was going through on a daily basis. And it was actually a very quiet night that we had gone. And I had about 300 questions that this officer was nice enough to answer for me. And so what I like to do is I like to, get down in there and to see what's going on. And so getting back to your question, I kind of went off on a tangent there.
So the question is, would you like to see there be
the police
oversight, auditor, however the process is done?
Well, I've never met the police chief, but I've seen him speak at a couple of things, and he seems like a very, very nice, honest man. And I know that he's probably doing his best because it's going to be difficult in a situation like this. We're going to, from time to time, have instances such as the thing that happened a few weeks ago. And it's one of those things where you look back and you would hope that he would be able to take control of it. And I think for the most part he did, because if you look at some of the people that he talked to, and such as the leaders down in North Omaha, they're very happy with what's going on. If we did have an auditor, I would want this auditor to have total autonomy, that they would have to answer not to the city itself maybe, and not to the police chief or the mayor, whatever, that they would answer to the citizens of Omaha to do what is right in each of those different situations, and they would have access to whatever information that they would need. But again, it goes back to how much is this person going to cost? And like I said, the people that I've been talking to, we just don't have any more money to give. And that might be one of those things where we would have to give funds up. And because I think things happen that we know about, happen so infrequently, maybe we don't need it. But if things continue to happen like that, then I would have to take a good hard look at it and say, you know what, we do need some oversight. But I think for the most part, I believe the police chief is doing a really good job in what he has to make sure that things are being done correctly with the police force.
You're a first timer. Why did you decide to go through this process of trying to get on the city council?
Well, that's a question that I get asked all the time. Yeah. And one of the reasons I wanted to do it was I want to get back to my community. I'm a lifelong Omahan, and this is a great place to live. I have 3 grown children, I have 2 grandchildren, and I think this is just a fantastic place to live. And what I want to do is I want to leave them with an even better future than I had. And I would hope that I would be able to make a difference with the city so that we can continue to move forward. And that's one of the reasons I did it. And I truly want to help my neighbors. I really want to help them to live a good and a better life than they have now.
We've talked a lot about jobs throughout this whole process. What are some of the things the city council can do, in your opinion, to be able to help people just get ready for a job? Because it's one thing to have a job available, but not everybody's ready to be able to have that job. Is there anything the city council could do to help them?
Well, and I've heard others talk about this, and I think, well, at least when I was growing up, we had different schools, around the city that you would learn certain trades.
Sure.
And I think to some extent that's kind of gone by the wayside. And if we can set up something like that where we can take people in so they can learn a good trade so that they can get a good job, I think that would be a great thing to do. And, you're probably saying, well, you're all against taxes. Why are you all of a sudden saying, well, this is something that we need to bring in? I think if we did do that, and a company came in and they needed workers. Well, here you go. We have 50 people that are ready to go. They're ready to do a really good job, and you have a good paying job, and then everybody wins at the end of the day with something like that.
Mayor Silver's campaign ran an ad about talking about taking the guns off the street. First of all, do you believe that's something that the mayor should have a responsibility to try to do? And what could the city council do in that process?
Well, I would hope that that we would be able to get the guns off the street. I mean, that's up to the individual. I think that law-abiding citizens, they're going to do what they have to make sure that people are safe. But unfortunately, guns will get in the hands of people that want nothing more to do than to create havoc. Mm-hmm. And is there a way of getting rid of that? I wish I knew that answer, but if there are times that we can set up something that says, okay, well, if you bring your gun in right now and you give it to us, you know, we're gonna make sure that it gets taken off the street. That's a really good thing to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. But again, I think as far as law-abiding citizens, they're always going to do the right thing when it comes to having a weapon with them. But
he specifically targeted, though, assault weapons, which of course is a big topic countrywide. He referenced Von Maur and other incidents that have happened with assault weapons. Do you believe, as a city leader, like a mayor, do you believe that's something that should address? Should we be talking more about assault weapons in the city council, in the mayor's office?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know why somebody in Omaha would need an assault weapon like that. You know, I can understand that somebody maybe would want to have a handgun for personal protection or whatever reason. You know, and again, it goes back to it's one of the basic rights that we have as citizens. And if the mayor is going to lead the charge to say, you know, we need to get those off the streets, that's a great thing. And if he wants the city council to do it, then we should go and do that too, because we want to make sure that our citizens are going to feel safe 24/7, no matter what time of day it is or what part of the city they're in.
Yeah. One of the things that the city has done, we talked about it before, with the $50 of people living outside of the city coming in and work. The legislature is the one that eliminated that. Do you believe the legislature should take special, or at least have special consideration for the city of Omaha, being that it's different than any other city in the state? Because the only really large city in the state with surrounding areas of that, I think the legislature should have a special exemption or do treat Omaha differently.
Well, I don't think that we should be treated as a cookie cutter. And it's because there's so many different dimensions, be it Omaha, Lincoln, Scottsbluff, or whatever. There are just so many different things that you have to look at. That's one of those things where you're not really comparing apples to apples. So you have to take that on somewhat of an individual basis.
We were talking earlier about what we're going to do in terms of police misconduct and having that auditor's office. You mentioned you make sure it has autonomy, isn't a part of, city isn't part of the police officers. How much do you think we should be willing to pay for that, having that type of office? Because it's talked about, it costs $250,000 to have that kind of office. Do you think that's worth it to make sure that the police are being watched by an outside organization?
Well, again, if you're using the $250,000, now I'm guessing that's probably going to be a year as opposed to over the term of
over the course of the year. That's what the police auditor was before it was taken away.
Okay. Well, I think you know, that would be one of those things where if the police auditor is able to by what they do, and let's say if something like this comes up again, and they're able to take care of that right away, and so that it fixes things in the future, and the city would not be looking at some huge lawsuit, then it's a positive thing. Because if we didn't have that, and let's say we had an incident like that again, and a citizen decided to sue the city, we may be looking at several millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. And so in that instance, it's probably a good idea that the $250,000 did go to something positive. And you know, with that hindsight being 2020, you know, we could look back at that and say, well, I didn't know, you know, we could have saved $3 million if we would only have spent $250,000.
So lawsuits.
Right.
Take a couple of minutes and give your closing statements.
My name is JR Jasso, and this is the first time I've ever run for city council or any type of office. And just to tell you a couple things about myself, I'm a lifelong Omaha, and I'm very proud of it. I grew up in South Omaha. I went to St. Agnes Grade School. I went to Omaha South, and I graduated from Creighton University, and where I currently work now in marketing communications. And one of the reasons that I got into the field of politics is I wanted to do what is best for my neighbors. And I learned this through my parents, and I also was able to learn more about it while I was studying at Creighton University. And what I want to do is, I want to do at the end of the day is what is best, not just for me, but for my neighbors who live across the street, my neighbors who would live anywhere from Dodge Street to 72nd Street, from the river to 72nd Street, and Dodge Street to Grover Street. And what I'm hoping is that you will have your faith in me that some of the things that I will do for you, I will bring stability back to City Hall. I will make sure that I'm transparent in everything that I do, and I will be accountable and accessible, and I will make sure that every dollar that we spend is going to do good for all the citizens of Omaha. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
I'd like to thank JR Jasso for being our guest today. To watch our discussion with JR on your computer or mobile device, just log on our website at www.ne-viewpoint.org and watch the podcast of the discussion and all the discussions and debates. When we come back, we'll change our focus from City Council District 3 to District 4. We'll be right back.
The Midwest Ovarian Cancer Association mission is to support women diagnosed with ovarian cancer, to educate the public about the disease, and to support research. Currently, most women diagnosed with ovarian cancer have advanced disease and require prolonged medical treatment. Our goal at MOCA is to see fewer women diagnosed in advanced stages and to assure all women the availability of support and access to information. Please support these efforts by liking us on Facebook.
For 45 years, Family Housing Advisory Services has been improving quality of life by helping people achieve housing and financial stability. FAS prevents homelessness, educates homeowners, provides foreclosure prevention options, develops financially wise consumers, offers affordable mortgage lending options, eliminates housing discrimination, and reduces poverty. Programs and services include homebuyer education, tenant services, financial management, tax assistance, homeowner finance, and fair housing. For more information, call 402-934-7921.
Do you know about 211? It's help for an elderly relative or a troubled teen, family counseling, or job training. Instead of hunting for phone numbers, dial 211. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, talk to someone who will find the local information you need. United Way and its statewide partners want you to get connected and get answers. Dial 211 or go online at ne211.org.
My son, the Cub Scout, helped raise money to make camping safer.
My son, the Cub Scout, stood up to the school bully.
My son, the Cub Scout, volunteers at the homeless shelter.
My sons, the Boy Scouts, helped clean up after the devastating flood.
My son, the Eagle Scout, helped save a man's life.
My sons, the Eagle Scouts, are defending our nation.
My son, the Eagle Scout, became a doctor,
civil engineer,
police chief,
wonderful husband and father,
state senator.
JoinScouting2012.org.
50 years!
The Boys and Girls Club of the Midlands
have been helping kids like me.
Like me.
Like us.
For just $30 a year, I can get
a healthy meal,
homework help, exercise,
a safe place to stay after school every day. At one of our 8 clubs! My name is Janelle.
And I am the Boys and Girls Club.
The Boys and Girls Club. We are the Boys and Girls Club! Like us on Facebook at BGC Midlands. Cox will donate $1 to the Boys and Girls Club.
Welcome back to Viewpoint's 2013 Omaha City Election Debate Series. I'm Michael Severe sitting in for Chris Pierce as we focus on the next 4 weeks of the candidates running for Omaha City Council and Mayor. We just finished up our discussion with City Council District 3 candidate JR Jasso, and we thanked him for participating this morning. We continue our discussions with Omaha City Council District 4. The candidates are incumbent Garry Gernandt, who was elected back in 2001, and Virgil Patlan Sr. We're happy to have both the gentlemen here with us for our first debate forum. Thank you very much. Here are the rules of the debate. The candidates provided a debate forum prior to today's show, and they know here's how it will work. The order was determined by a flip of the coin, in which Garry Gernandt won. Each candidate will have a 1-minute opening statement. The candidate receiving the question will have 1 minute for answer, and then his opponent will have 45-second rebuttal, and then return for a 30-second response. The process will rotate between candidates. Each candidate will ask his opponent a question of their own choosing, in which the candidate will have 2 minutes to answer, and then there'll be a 1-minute rebuttal. Each candidate will also have 2 minutes for a closing statement. We start with the opening statement from Councilman Garry Gernandt.
Thank you, Michael. I think a solid foundation has to be a trusted leader in South Omaha, and I believe I've set the platform for that and a solid foundation by, number one, bringing jobs into South Omaha. So we have to have a plan in place for a solid job foundation, education, and public safety. I believe all of these, I've had accomplishments over the past 12 years. I will continue to do that, and I appreciate the opportunity to open up. Thank you.
We're glad to see you with your 1 minute.
Thank you very much. This is going to be a pleasant afternoon. I look forward to having a spirited debate with Councilman Gernandt. I want to make sure that the public knows that we are two different people. Our politics are totally different. South Omaha is in need of new leadership, as we can see from the paper this morning, how Gene Stothard won a lot of the area. They are crying for new leadership. I believe I will be that new leader. I have ideas that are going to change our community. I have vision that is going to spark our neighborhoods, our residents, and our voters to get to the polls. A vision that everyone is going to be looking at South Omaha, just like they did in the paper today, because South Omaha is going to be a game changer in the mayor's race. And I'm just happy to be part of that.
Thank you, Virgil. First question, Councilman Gernandt. The City of Omaha recently ratified the city's fire contract. It expires in 2014, less than 2 years. When should we start negotiating it again? And what are some of the major issues, in your opinion, as the City Council that we're going to have to deal with the new contract?
Well, I'm sure we're going to be, the official notification will more than likely take place towards the end of 2013 this year. And then they lay groundwork and move into 2014. I think some of the issues that are going to be, of course, are health care, wages, and benefits. Labor unions are all about safety, wages, and benefits. Both Virgil and I have been on that side of the coin. And I would think that the most important issue that we face right now would be health care. And we're trying to get down to 34 plans to begin with. We've been able, through negotiation process, to bring it down to 7, and the goal is 1.
Virgil, you have 45 seconds to vote.
One of the major things I would like to do is to apply the restaurant tax to the pensions. It was our impression that the restaurant tax was created for the pension system. If $30 million a year is coming into the pension system, then every penny should go into our pension system. And then after 10 years, that restaurant tax will go away. That's important. That's a start. Then we need to sit down with the unions and to begin to negotiate the rest of the benefit packages.
So you have 30 seconds to respond.
The restaurant tax was created to help out the pension shortfall. And the funds that are coming in for that are made applicable towards the shortfall in the police fire pension system. And to think anything else is happening, I think is just a little bit off course.
Virgil, the next question goes to you. Largest obstacle for job seekers in North Omaha and South Omaha, for that matter, is getting to jobs in West Omaha. The Omaha public transportation system has had its own problems. How do we close that gap with the transportation system so Omahans who want to work can get to where the jobs are?
Well, we have to give them a reason to come down to South Omaha and pick up children and take them to work. If Kellogg's wants to come down and bring a bus, say we've got 20 kids that want to work, let's find some tax credits. We can give them, tax credits for the gasoline, the plates. If they're going to go out and buy a new vehicle, let's give them some tax credits to offset the cost of the vehicles. We need to become creative in this area so they'll want to come down and pick up the families and kids and take them to work.
So you have 45 seconds.
Creativity is important, but being involved in reality at the same time, I think it's somewhat way out there that there are a lot of things that are available. What we need to do is connect the City of Omaha with our continuation, working with Metropolitan Area Planning Agency, and all of the dots need to be connected, and the best possible solutions minimized and brought down to something that's workable within the system.
Virgil, 30 seconds.
OHA has a good plan. They pick up their workers and take them to work. We should be able to partner with them, use their vehicles, and get tax credits, get some vehicles that are natural gas that saves money. We have to be creative. We have to think outside the box because nothing's working right now. So it has to be something totally new.
All right, next question goes to you. You have a minute to answer it. As you know, small businesses create the majority of jobs in Omaha. What do you see of the role of the City of Omaha supporting those small businesses?
Well, number one, of course, if there's a way of keeping government out of the way, that's probably what we ought to be doing. We need to be fair in the assessing of permits and fees. There has to be something that makes up a certain amount of cash flow that comes in for the amount of work that's done. And you just can't eliminate everything and still be able to do the work and function within a budget.
45 seconds.
We have to eliminate government being on the backs. The kitchen tables where jobs are created. When you start a contractor's ordinance that penalizes them right off the bat with a $300 fee, now you have to take a class. That's getting big government on your back. First thing I would do is eliminate that ordinance for the contractors. They don't need any extra oversight.
30 seconds response.
I think the answer to that would be we have to make sure that the city's responsibility under charter is to keep public safety in all areas of urban government. If we don't do that, we could have buildings collapse, we could have a catastrophe on our hands if we didn't have certain regulations.
Next question to you, Virgil. When the City Council approved tax incremental financing, or TIF, for TD Ameritrade office building at 108th and Dodge, there's a great amount of controversy about the neighborhoods being considered blighted, and also about the true purpose of the use of TIF funds. Some state legislators felt that the City Council misused TIF. Do you feel the City of Omaha is clearly using TIF, and if not, and not for its intended purposes?
I did hear a complaint about the TIF program with the Walmart at 50th and L. Local area managers were concerned that that was going to be misused. Walmart did not need that financing. I believe Councilman voted for it. I believe he had been approached by a lot of the managers in the area of the grocery stores who asked that not be supported. Walmart can stand on its own. They didn't need this financing to open that store, and I will make sure that this financing is used the way the law intended.
45 seconds here.
We have a tool in the kit, tax increment financing. It's been one of the better tools when development for any metropolitan city of our size has used and should continue to use. It is a good tool. Yes, is there a part in there that I've been trying to change for a good number of years, is substandard and blighted? Yes, we need to get that done. We have tried feverishly with the legislature to do it, and hopefully we're getting a lot closer in 2013.
Virgil, 30 seconds.
The law is clear. We have to make sure that the law is followed and that the TIF is not abused. I will follow the law clearly, and of course we all want to clear up the blighted areas, but the law is very clear. And as a law enforcement officer, we know how important laws are. I will make sure that TIF is not abused.
When you were on the City Council here, you have a minute to answer this question. Nebraska legislature, there was a reversal by the Nebraska legislature of the ordinance passed by the City Council to expand $50 wheel tax for people who didn't live in Omaha city limits. Do you feel the state legislature overstepped its bounds to create the law reversing the council's decision?
It certainly hurt based upon what our tax base was and what we budgeted for. I think that we could do a lot more in that area, but the state legislature also decided that we needed to have some barriers. They put that barrier up, and the City of Omaha has to deal with it, and so far we've been able to deal with it.
When I'm on the City Council, no one that doesn't live within the city will be taxed unfairly as this wheel tax. If they want to be taxed for this wheel tax, they can move in the city and to take up the tax. They move out to the suburbs for a reason. I will never let that happen. I will vote no anytime an issue like this comes up. It is unfair to them because they don't get to turn around and vote on any city councilman or mayor. No, that would be over with. I don't want to tolerate that.
Well, if they're going to use city services, city streets, and all that, I think that there should be a fair amount and they should be able to participate. And if they're in an SID that has a low balance, and I'm sure we'll probably have a question like that later on, but that would also come under annexation. So there's a lot of variables is what I'm trying to say that would have to be looked at, where one flat statement of saying, no, I won't do this, or yes, I will do this.
Virgil, we talked at the beginning, I have a minute to answer this question about the firefighters' contract. It was negotiated by the mayor, the last couple of them, but the city council took this one over. Do you believe it should be the job of the mayor or the city council to negotiate firefighter contracts? And police contracts, for that matter?
I believe it's the job of the mayor. And I will vote to put that back into his hands or her hands. I will be on the council to look over issues I can add or remove. Put in amendments that I feel that are fair to the taxpayers of South Omaha. But in the end, I want to move that back into the mayor's hands.
I've always believed that negotiation should be part of the administration. I certainly had a heartburn over when they came before us to move that. We did it, and we now have a contract after bringing in an outside negotiator. And we've got that, as I've said all along, we've got that marbled in the bag, and we move on to the next contract. And as a matter of fact, we've got all of the marbles in the bag right now.
30 seconds, Virgil.
The mayor should have that responsibility. The people of the city will vote in a new mayor or return Suttle back to his position. He should have that authority, and if the people of the city don't like it, then they can vote him out in 4 years. Again, as a city council person, I can make amendments and have input into that contract, and that's what I'll do.
After a spirited and controversial annexation of Elkhorn several years ago, do you see Omaha taking steps to annexing other communities such as Ralston, Bennington, or Valley? How far down the road from that do you think we are if you believe it's something we need to do?
Well, that was looked into just within the past 2 years of all three of those communities. And to annex, we have to have certain parameters. And I don't think that we'll ever cross that boundary and get to Ralston or Bennington or Valley. We still have a lot of SIDs that can be annexed. And there is a plan in place to do that when their debt is low, and we move forward with the procedures that are currently in place that I feel are adequate.
45 seconds, Virgil.
The people of Elkhorn moved to Elkhorn for a reason, to have their own identity. And I didn't agree with the annexation then. It was based on getting more revenue. I would vote no for Ralston, any other community. They want their identity. I will ensure they keep their identity. Again, if they want to move or be in Omaha, then let them move to our city and be part of it. I am a strong proponent of keeping your identities in your suburbs strong. Ralston is there for a reason, Papillion, all these communities are there because they want to be. And I just think it's wrong to annex them for 30-second response here.
Yes, nobody's actually lost their identity. Millard still has their identity, Florence still has their identity, Benson still has, South Omaha still has their identity since all these annexations have taken place. I would agree that we'd have to make sure that all of the annexations are proper and they follow all of the procedures, and if those procedures need to be tweaked, the department brings that forward and there's a process.
You have the opportunity to do the first candidate question to address to Councilman Gernandt.
Yes, Councilman. In the past, you have voted for the occupation taxes, cigarette tax, I believe, the restaurant tax, of course. You make a commitment to the community, especially in South Omaha, that you will vote no on any further occupation tax?
You have 2 minutes there, especially.
The occupation taxes that we talked about earlier, I think I've explained the position on the restaurant tax. The cigarette tax is put in place for a 10-year period. It has a sunset for a purpose of raising $35 million for a brand new cancer research center on the University of Nebraska Medical Center's campus. And we've got an obligation that both the city, the state, and the county have all chipped in. I think that that's important. If we raise that money within 4 years, I will be the first one to make sure that that one is repealed.
You have 1 minute.
If the cigarette tax doesn't come in at $5 million per year and only comes in at $3 million, what are your plans to raise the other $2 million that is guaranteed to the medicine?
Well, it certainly won't be for property tax. We'll have to have something that is created. And what that might be, I have no idea right now. But we're on course to raise that amount based upon the figures that Finance Department provided us. And I would think that we could do that. If we get that in 4 years, I can guarantee I'll be up.
Let's stay on that standard of questioning, and we'll start back over here with Garry, because it's your turn. Well, your chance to ask the question. I'm sorry, you got a chance to ask your question now, and you have 2 minutes to respond.
Mr. Patlan, you had a distinguished career in the police department. What would be probably the most serious issue that you would think that would need to be addressed as a member of the city council?
I believe the pensions, because it's my pension too. I read the Bates Commission report, and on there it clearly stated that our pension system could go broke. I want to be able to, if something happens to me, that my wife has the money coming in. I want to sit down with the unions in a cordial way. We owe it to the citizens of the city to get that thing funded without raising taxes, any further taxes. That would be the main issue. And I want to get that started right away. And again, I said, I want that to be there for my wife, and my friends who are on the police department, retired, want that there for their wives. So we owe it to them, to the city, to get this thing solved. You have a minute to respond.
I think that one of the key issues is to make sure that public safety that touches every part of our urban governance is there and doing the proper thing. And I firmly believe that we've got at least 9 of the 11 departments that public safety touches. And if we don't make sure that each and every one of those responsibilities and procedures and measures that are in place, we could probably have some sort of either a financial catastrophe, and we need someone that's in there that has the experience, that has seen the effects when there's turf protection and all of that. So I would make sure that all of the areas, not just pension. Pension is important, I understand that, and families are important, but we need to make sure that all areas are covered.
Virgil, your questions have a minute to answer. Given the recent accusations of police misconduct by Omaha citizens, if funding was mandated by the city charter, would you be in favor of an independent process to review citizen complaints involving city employees? If so, what form of the independent process would you like to see? Why or why not?
I definitely believe we still need oversight, not only of the police department, but of all city offices. I'm in favor of oversight. I've always have been in favor of oversight. We need to get it funded. We need to work it out. We need to have an independent office with some type of structure and even the possibility of a civilian review board to make sure everything is working the way it's supposed to. Am I for oversight? Yes. I've told the police union that. They understand that. We need to come to the table and draft up an ordinance that involves all the unions, citizens, get it done right the first time so there's no argument when the ordinance is drafted.
In 45 seconds, Barry.
We certainly have an obligation to the taxpayer, and oversight is extremely important. And in a recent forum, I was asked the question, yes or no, do you support oversight? I stood up, my answer was yes. That has not changed. I would certainly be looking for best practices. We've had an auditor in the past, and that turned out to be disastrous. And we need to make sure that we have a measure in place to work that works for all departments. If we're going to have a holistic view, we should have oversight for the whole gamut of all departments.
30 seconds to respond.
Councilor Gernandt has 12 years to get this, has had 12 years to get this squared away. The community that I know has been asking for this for a long time. I would make that a priority along with the pensions to do this. This is what the community is telling me. I won't hesitate. It needs to be done. We need to do it in a civil manner. It doesn't do me any good to sit down and criticize any of the unions. It needs to be done. We need to work it out, and I will make that happen.
You have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
to thank the voters of South Omaha for stepping up to the plate on primary day. You have one more opportunity to change leadership. The whole city is looking at South Omaha, and I said this at a meeting the other day, that the vision I have for our community is that we will be the shining light in the whole city. We will have programs that are important. West Omaha, North Omaha are going to come to us and say, how are you doing this? How are you working that? Number one, my crime prevention program includes the auditor. Number two, it finally includes hiring a gang specialist, something that had been promised for a long time. This will happen. We will get back to work, working with our kids. I created a program that went into the 4th grade that dealt with graffiti. Education is important. That will stop the gangs. We're going to get this gangs problem solved. I spent 12 years in the gang unit. I testified in federal court as a gang expert. I know what it takes. We need to go back and reach the kids earlier. We will do that. We will find funding for community organizations that want to put more than just 7 kids to work. North Omaha got $600,000. I'm going to fight for $600,000 for our community, for organizations to put kids to work. I want to take this time to thank you. I'm going to work hard for you. I've met a lot of people. South Omaha, you're very fair-minded, and that's what I like about you. You need to get up and step up to the plate on May 14th. Decide what kind of leadership you want. I am going to be the person that says no to taxes and government fees. We're going to get rid of the tobacco tax. We're going to get rid of the taxes on the businesses, for the contractors. That's gone. We can work together. We can solve the problems, and we can look ahead to the future and make sure our kids, when they walk on the streets, have a safe community to grow up in. Thank you.
Councilman, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Well, it's not where the sky is falling in South Omaha. There are great things happening in South Omaha. We have been resilient through the housing crisis, the job market. We have been extremely resilient in working to battle crime. We have the lowest out of the 4 precincts in crime prevention statistics. And I think government has played a very important role. I've laid a foundation where I believe that I have been and will continue to be dedicated to the goals of the district. And we've talked about several of these today. Taxes, citizens review, and public safety and education. We've talked a lot about that this afternoon. And it's something that there are a lot of moving parts. And you need someone in there that has the experience and been able to get things done. I have made a lot of things happen in public safety, in increasing the number of officers, making sure that there's funding. In education, promoting the use of brand new schools, which we have 2 now, brand new ones in South Omaha, one of them opening up this fall. So I would say this. Not only am I dedicated, I'm attentive to the needs of the district. I have been and will continue to do so. I'm as open-minded as the next person, and I am responsive. One of the things that I have tried to do, and I think that I have been extremely successful of, is I get people to help themselves. I try to help people help themselves so they understand and be able to navigate in government where they can solve, because when they call me, first thing I ask them, what have you done to solve the problem? That way I don't waste that time after taking care of all the things that they've done.
Councilman, thank you very much. Virgil, thank you very much for taking part. I'd like to thank both Councilman Garry Gernandt and Virgil Patlan Sr. for being with us today. To watch our discussion with Garry and Virgil on your computer or mobile device, just log on our website at www.any-viewpoint.org and watch the podcast of discussion and discussions and debates. That's our program for today. Next week, we'll focus on City Council Districts 5 and 6. Remember, the general election is Tuesday, May 14th. For more information on the candidates and where and how you can vote, visit Douglas County's Election Commissioner website at votedouglascounty.com.
50 years!
The Boys and Girls Club of the Midlands
Have been helping kids like me. Like me.
like us.
For just $30 a year, I can get
A healthy meal.
Homework help. Exercise.
a safe place to stay after school every day. At one of our 8 clubs! My name is Janelle.
And I am the Boys and Girls Club.
The Boys and Girls Club. We are the Boys and Girls Club! Like us on Facebook at BGC Midlands. Cox will donate $1 to the Boys and Girls Club.
For 45 years, Family Housing Advisory Services has been improving quality of life by helping people achieve housing and financial stability. FAS prevents homelessness, educates homeowners, provides foreclosure prevention options, develops financially wise consumers, offers affordable mortgage lending options, eliminates housing discrimination, and reduces poverty. Programs and services include homebuyer education, tenant services, financial management, tax assistance, homeowner finance, and fair housing. For more information, call 402-934-7921.
The Midwest Ovarian Cancer Association mission is to support women diagnosed with ovarian cancer, to educate the public about the disease, and to support research. Currently, most women diagnosed with ovarian cancer have advanced disease and require prolonged medical treatment. Our goal at MOCA is to see fewer women diagnosed in advanced stages and to assure all women the availability of support and access to information. Please support these efforts by liking us on Facebook.
Do you know about 211? It's help for an elderly relative or a troubled teen, family counseling, or job training. Instead of hunting for phone numbers, dial 211. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, talk to someone who will find the local information you need. United Way and its statewide partners want you to get connected and get answers. Dial 211 or go online at ne211.org.